Hello, it's Graham Coath with another edition of the Icing on the Career Cake with Diane and guest today, Martine Gibson, who's told us just now that we've all got to make a wish because we're recording this on the 11th or 11/11.
Yeah.
So 11/11, there we go. That's the time when we're recording this. So that's a time to make a wish, is it?
Yeah,
It is. Yeah.
Okay, done. I won't. I'll tell you afterwards, maybe. Good day to you, Martine.
Hello. How are we all doing?
Yeah, we're good. You good, Diane?
Yeah, fabulous. And thanks for coming on, Martine. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to start by saying, where did you first meet Diane?
Well, me and Diane go way back, don't we?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Babies, school age, grew up in the same
on the same estate back in the day, didn't we? Which we probably didn't realise till then we met through move and things like that, as we.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So we go way back.
Did you have children at the same time? Did you have any other connections as you grew up?
No, it was just a case of we grew up in the same area, we knew of each other, and then life, you kind of go your way, and then life brings you back together, doesn't it? And it's brought us back together through business and being a move, and it's just gone from there, which is nice.
Yeah.
Lovely. Right, tell everybody that's watching, hello everybody, tell everybody a little bit about what you do.
Okay, so in a nutshell, I like to describe what I do as I help people to find the magic, because I do believe that us humans are filled with lots and lots of magic. So what I mean by that, in order to describe it a little bit further, is I do psychotherapy and counselling. So I help people who have been diagnosed with mental health disorders such as PTSD, anxiety, depression, bipolar, a full range of mental health illnesses, and also people struggling with everyday life problems like bereavement, which is sad to call it an everyday life problem, but it actually is. Relationship breakdowns, things like that. But I also teach, or should I say, I facilitate workshops. So take people on a journey of guided discovery under the umbrella of emotional intelligence. So workshops titled Imposter Syndrome, Confidence versus Self-Esteem, Understanding and Managing Your Emotions, Dealing with Conflict and Stress, all those things that you need to have under control and be aware of to enable you to live a really strong, fulfilling life, to be able to navigate through life and resilience and adversity and all those things. So that is what I do. Magic.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. That's an awful lot. How did you get into that?
What was you going to say, Diane?
I was going to say, to be fair, I have had sessions with Martine, and I would vouch for, her confidentiality, her expertise, her professionalism. You helped me over a few things, and so definitely. And you've got a workshop a week Saturday, that we're going to I'm going to be attending as well. So definitely, if anybody's free and could come along, it's in the Liner Hotel on Saturday. Definitely try and we'll put the link in after this and see if anybody could. So because I think no matter who we are, where we are, whatever in life, everybody has that little bit of self-doubt or that, oh, can I do this or can I that? And mental health is so important at this moment in time in life that everybody could do a little bit of help. And I think a bit of self-care at times is definitely needed, for you to keep your trajectory and keep yourself on the right path, whatever that path is and whatever your journey is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And when you look at Imposter Syndrome, which is the workshop, so that's on Saturday, the 13th of July at the Liner Hotel, 10 a.m. So Imposter Syndrome is where you are experiencing a really high level of self-doubt and you're doing the whole comparing yourself to others. And a lot of people compare their chapter 1 or 2 or 3 to everyone else's chapter 10, 20. And it's they're further down the line. And it's we don't do ourselves any justice by comparing, because the only place we have left to go is despair. And it's so unhelpful. So the Imposter Syndrome workshop is just a 90-minute workshop, short, sharp bursts of information psychoeducational, and you come out with knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to enable you to either eliminate it, alleviate it, and manage it. Because it's not something that's a constant. It happens and dips in and out of your life. Like if you're going for a new job, like a lot of people I know will be like, oh, I can't go for that. I haven't got the knowledge and the skills, or I'm not good enough for that. And it's like, you absolutely are good enough for it. You're even overqualified for it. And it's just, what's stopping you from going for that job?
Do you know, on that note, do you know, the survey's done that men will apply for jobs if they've got 5 out of 10 skills, but a woman will only apply for a job if they've got all 10 skills.
Yeah.
So, like, that's like a bit of a mindset as well, isn't it? You know, we do think differently as different sexes, but yeah, I think women, because they're quite more particular in doing things, they'd be like, no, I need to be everything. And that's stuff like, from a recruitment point, I look at people's CVs, and if they've got 7 out of 10 of what the client had asked for, you know, as long as they've got the right attitude and are going to apply themselves to the role, then you can teach them other skill sets, you know, that they're not hard. As long as they've got some of the main key ones, they've got little bits and bobs that they haven't done, like they haven't used that particular CRM system, but they've used the CRM. Well, that can be taught. That doesn't matter. You know, that's where I think using an agency at times, a recruitment company, you can, I've got the time to go through all them CVs and speak to people. That's where you can help. And we probably have to have some conversations like you're talking about there to give people that confidence to say, look, you can do this job. You more than qualified, you know, and you do practice interviews with them, prepare them, you know, and get them ready, you know, because you know that they'll do it. And do you know what? They're generally the people who end up smashing the job.
And that's it, isn't it? It's just getting through those little insecurities, that self-doubt and that whole compare and despair. And once people come through the other side and go, well, actually, I can do this, it's then it's like they find the magic, the world's their oyster. There are no limits because they took the lid off. And it's like, you know, the story with the flea, like a flea can jump 10 foot, but put it in a jar and it'll only jump to the lid. And then if you take the lid off, it'll still jump that far. You've got to teach it to jump higher again. Yeah. And it's just, this is it. It's taking the lid off the jar for people and showing them, no, you are a limitless human being. You're capable of greatness. Go and step into your light and do what you were born to do. But there's just so many limitations out there, isn't there?
Question for you. Do you feel that we get many people that sit in the middle? Because I'm not sure that we do. And by that, I mean, we seem to have 2 extremes out there. We seem to have a lot of people who suffer imposter syndrome, don't believe that they can do something, or they start to do something and then they give up at the first hurdle because it's all just becoming too tough, etc., etc. Then there are people that are just super confident, or seem to be super confident about everything, and actually just believe that they just can do whatever it is. You know, as long as they believe that they can do it, they can do it. But do we have many people that sort of like sit in the middle, really, that are cautious but have a reasonable amount of belief?
Absolutely, yeah. I believe there's more people in that than there is anywhere else.
Yeah, I would say there's more people in the middle, and they're the people who you probably don't think they've got a bit of imposter syndrome, but have got a little bit of it. That they're the people that you need to push and excel. You know, if I go back to like when you'd run a store of 150 people, you'd have more people in performing out of 3, which is average. Then you'd only then have, you'd probably have 70% as of 3, 10% for excellence, and then 20% needs improvement. You know what I mean? So your job was to get them three people to the 4, and that's how you excel at your restaurants, or you excel. A lot of people sometimes look at trying to, you do need to improve the people at the bottom. I'm not saying you don't, but if you took 10% more of your grade 3 people into the 4, then your restaurant's going to operate 10% better, isn't it? You know, if you took someone from a 2 to a 3, it wouldn't probably operate 10% better, maybe be 5%. So yeah, I definitely think from my world of being around people, there's definitely more people in the 3 who think, you know, they can, or they, you know, they're just happy with what they're doing, you know.
Yeah. Where does that come from? Where does this sort of attitude of, well, it's okay, I'm doing all right, you know, and it's just I don't necessarily have to push myself. Where does that incubate?
Gosh, it can incubate from anywhere and everywhere. It could be from your upbringing. It could be from your social environment. It could be from people you look up to, like your role models. It could be learned behavior. It could be habitual. It's so individual for each person. It really is individual for each person. And it's just like my determination comes from having a role model, but it also comes from seeing a lot of adversity from when I was younger. And that adversity taught me that's not what I want in life. So I know I need to work at it. Where a lot of people could say, well, this is what I'm used to, all this adversity. So that's my excuse to stay where I am. So you either use things as a reason for growth or an excuse for staying where you are. But it is so personal to each and every individual.
Yeah. It's interesting because there's a bit of an overlap always when you have this kind of conversation with conversations around sort of work-life balance and where that's going, etc. as well. But and I find that interesting because sometimes I think work-life balance almost gets put into a box where it is like you don't want to work too hard because you need to leave time for life. But that's
but I think on that, right, I think, I know now from being a business owner, you can still have life but be working. It's just utilizing what you maybe do or whatever. You can still do both. So I could argue, well, I never stop working in essence, but I still know how to have a life and balance the two. So I actually had a conversation with a lady this morning about this, saying she's like new to the role, and she was like, oh, I was said to do 8 till 5 and now I'm doing this and blah. I said, you know what, when I was a young store manager in McDonald's, I thought I was the best manager because I did 6 days a week, I did 12 hours a day, and then when I went into training and I taught about time management, I was like, oh, well, I actually look like a bad leader because, one, it made me look like I couldn't manage my time properly. I didn't empower my team. I didn't trust my team. I didn't do anything. So when I went then back out to the store, you learned, well, actually going home is not a bad thing because how else is anyone ever going to learn? So I think it depends on if you're working too much because you don't trust people and you don't do stuff, or are you working at the level you're working just because that's needed at times. I think, that again could be a big, massive discussion, but I think it depends on how you do that. Does that make sense? If you're working every hour God sends and you're doing the job of an admin when that's not your role as a director, then you've got it wrong, Yeah.
I totally agree. And I'd be interested to know, Martine, so within that then, I suppose the other aspect of that is that, no person is an island. So whilst you're working with people, do you also need to some extent, work with them on how they relate to other people and their relationships? Because, if you...
Sorry, Graham, go on.
No, I was just going to say, because it's not just about working with that person, is it? Because, if the way that, if the choices that they make are interdependent upon other people as well, you've got to bring those other relationships into it.
Oh, 100%, 100%. So, classic. I have had clients in the past who have, come to me and they've got this problem and they've got that problem and this person's doing that to them and that person's doing that and this job and that job and blah, blah, blah. And it's all about them, and they become victims in their own story. They create, you know what I'm going on about. So they become the victim in their own story. And when you become the victim of your story, you lose sight of everyone else around you. You stop focusing on how you can be perceived and how your behavior can be experienced by other people, because you are so honed in on being the victim and woe is me and this is what's happening to me and this is my life. You forget that there's other people in your life, and how you behave, the words you say, the way you act and the things you do impact other people. So sometimes I do have to look at the situation from a third party's point of view, just to flip the screen and to put the mirror up to a client to say, well, how do you think your partner's experiencing you when you're behaving like that? And that can be a real whoa. And sometimes they don't like me for it. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't be doing my job as a therapist, as a counselor, psychotherapist, whatever, if I didn't do that to show them, look, it's all about perception and how you are perceived and your behaviors and how people experience you, as well as the other way around.
Yeah. Do you know, on that note though, although like I know you're qualified as a therapist, but I actually think that's being a manager as well though. That's when you're coaching someone, speaking to them, that's exactly the same, isn't it? You know, I've had many a staff that probably hated working with me at the time, but then come and go, do you know what, actually, if you didn't give me that bit of tough love, I wouldn't be where I am today. Thanks very much. And it's not, but they don't maybe appreciate it there and then, do you know, because they're not actually seeing it, because they can't come out of that victim zone, do you know, and that's completely, that happens in the workplace all day, every day, doesn't it?
It happens in everyday life. Look at like a parent situation when your child is not behaving in the most appropriate way. You have to say to them, well, look at, this is your behavior, this is your actions. Look at how it's impacted on other people. So we naturally do it as parents, as role models, as responsible adults or irresponsible adults, whatever we are. Do you know what I mean? We do it all the time anyway. It's just that when you're in a setting, in a counseling setting, people will pay a little bit more attention.
Yeah.
And because they don't know you, they don't feel judged. Whereas if we were having this conversation and it was just like we were in a relationship type of thing, you'd be like, oh, can't say that because they're going to judge me. They're going to think bad of me. Whereas because it's a counselor, different type of relationship, different setting, safer, where they don't feel, where they feel vulnerable, but not where they feel they're going to be judged. A lot of people will open up a lot more and tell you their secrets. And that's what I always say. I'm really good with secrets.
Would you say then, Martine, that there's an opportunity there then, if you have got an employee who is underperforming or whatever, and you know it's because of some of them things that, you know, as a business leader, it would be maybe good to offer them to go to do counselling? You know, would you think,
absolutely. Yeah.
You know, how would you approach that? How would you have that conversation, do you think?
Yeah.
Because it's quite some people take offense going, I don't need counselling, do you get what I mean? Like how would you approach that?
From my experience of being a manager, before I done my training, one little thing, it was a good example. I had a member of staff who came in 15 minutes late every single day. And whilst it was only 15 minutes, over a period of time, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So I had the conversation and it was, I noticed you coming in 15 minutes late every day. The first question I said to her is, are you okay? Is there anything I can help you with?
Yeah.
She immediately broke down crying and told me a whole life story. And it was like, whoa, okay. So then it was like, right, how can I help you? Let's see what we can do to support you. What do you need from me as your manager? And then it was a case of offering an external support. But sometimes it's just by asking that question.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
But you've got to have a really good relationship, because if you're a manager that your employee just like doesn't like, and you go, are you okay? They're going to be like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm sound. I'm telling you. Do you know what I mean? So it's just about having that relationship. But yeah, it's just noticing the little intricacies. And then if you're noticing those little things, it's just like, how are you today? Is there anything I can help you with? Have you got someone that you can talk to? Is the first question. Who do you talk to when you're having a rough time? Who's at home? Just little questions like that, rather than do you want to go and see a counsellor?
Yeah, exactly.
Once you build the relationship up, have you got someone you can talk to? No, blah, blah, blah. Then you're taking the time to open up. You're not going in too deep where you're then taking on their stuff as your own, because that's what you've also got to be careful of as a manager, that you don't take on too much. And then building that relationship up, building the trust. And then when you get to that level where you're comfortable enough, would you ever consider counselling? It takes time.
Yeah.
It's like me when I work with a client. It takes time to build up a level of trust where they will then tell me their secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? All relationships take time, don't they? And
Absolutely.
It's amazing where we see people not taking time.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. I mean, you know, you take social media, people don't understand it when it doesn't just work for them, because what they've done is they've literally, they've connected with someone, they've literally walked straight up to them and gone, and then it's like, oh, they get this from someone that it's like, well, yeah, because you've taken no time whatsoever. If there's one, from my point of view as someone that does a lot of social media, if there's one thing I could say to anybody, it's like, if you haven't built a relationship first, if you've not shown them any interest in what they are doing, why would you expect them to suddenly be interested in you?
Exactly.
You've got it.
I have that conversation all the time, when you're speaking to people who are new to like your networking groups. I'm like, don't be taking things personal, like you haven't got anything within the first X amount of time, because would you give your best client to someone who you've only met for a couple of weeks? No, because and the people who've networked longer have had the fingers burnt, haven't they? They've had that. So it takes time for you. You've got to build your reputation with people first. You've got to build your brand all the time. Going back to before, Martine, where you're saying when you're playing the victim, it's also, you've got to be careful about the conversations you're having with people, haven't you, and how you're portraying yourself and what you're doing. And do you turn up to the event early so you can network, or are you a 5 to 7 person because it starts at 7 o'clock? Well, people are judging you on your business from that as well. I always say, if I don't turn up to what I commit, why would people expect my candidates to? So, everything, we're always looking at that, everything's built up over time, isn't it?
Yeah. It's how you show up, isn't it? Your work ethic, it's your values, your morals, your principles. It's all those things rolled into one. But the most important thing in anything is trust. And it's called a therapeutic alliance in what I do. And it's the strength of that determines how good the work is. Because if my clients don't trust me, and if I don't trust them, then we're not going to get anywhere. So I have actually, ended sessions with clients who haven't met where I haven't felt comfortable with them, or where I don't think they're putting the work in, or when they're not trusting me because they're finding it hard to trust. It's just like, I don't feel comfortable, working with people and then knowing that they're not getting the best out of it and then taking the money. It's unethical. It don't work like that. So what I say to my clients is, again, the level of trust and putting yourself out there and how you show up is like, I always say I say it the way I always say, if you think that I'm not your cup of tea, I just say it as it is, then that's okay. My main priority is you've come to me for help. If I can't help you, I won't leave you high and dry. I will help you to find someone who can help you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If I'm not the right fit for my client, it won't be just a bye-bye. It'll be, well, let me see how else I can help you. Let me find you someone, or steer you in the right direction towards someone. Trust is so important. And by doing that, that person could then think, oh, well, I remember she did that for me.
Yeah.
And then she wasn't the right fit for me, but she'll be sound for that person who needs help.
Yeah.
So send them that way. And it's just about being the best version of you, doing what you need to do, but building up trust and taking your time.
Something we used to teach in our management is trust equals respect. So if you've got no trust, you've got no respect, and then trust times respect equals influence. So as a leader, as a man, whatever, for yourself, then if you first don't trust anyone, you're never going to influence anyway. So going back to what you're saying there, Graham, is one little conversation to someone isn't going to mean they're going to want to come and work with you or do anything, because they don't trust you. It's the biggest, root cause to anything in life, isn't it? If we haven't got trust, we haven't got anything, I don't think.
Yeah. Question. I mean, at what point with somebody do you look at the thing that's causing them to feel like they're a failure, etc., and you go, well, this is either you need to actually step out from doing that because you've tried to do this, it's not working, there are good reasons why it's not working, and actually you're, however much you like it, you're in the wrong place at this time, or you're doing the wrong thing or whatever. When do you look at the person? When do you look at the system, or when do you look at the structure?
Yeah, That again depends on the person who's there, and it's like timing is the sweet spot when it comes to therapy. You've got to get a person, or a person has to come to you when they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they're ready for change, and they're ready to put in the work. And the work is, looking in those deep dark pits and the deep dark aspects of the personality, and looking at the things that they don't like and being ready to look at it and change. And it's just working with that person. It's so individual for everybody. It's like I have had one client, the first session I had with him, there was one word we used in that session, and finding that one word on that first session changed his life. He's a completely new man, and he will tell you that himself. He says to me all the time, I can't believe that one word on our first session, and I've changed my life. He said, I don't know who I used to be. He said, I love who I am now. And when I say his whole life's changed, he sleeps better, he's a better person, people are complimenting him, he's not fighting. He was always ready for a fight. Now he's just relaxed. He's surprised in himself by the decisions he's making. And it was just the power of one word and continuous conversation. So that, in answer to that question, is whenever they're ready.
Can you work with the England football team at the moment and give them the word score?
Whenever they want me, I am ready.
Can you give them the word score?
Yeah. Do you know what? I've just reminded myself whenever they're ready. I always say, I'm like Nanny McPhee. When people don't want me and need me, I'm there. But when they want me and they don't need me, I move on to the next person. But I hope I'm a little bit more like less moly and straighter teeth than Nanny McPhee.
Yeah, without that.
Well, you definitely.
There's nothing wrong with moles, though, to be fair. So
no. What's the biggest challenge for you doing what you do? What
the biggest challenge. I don't see what I do as a challenge. I don't look at it, and that's really hard. I don't look at it as a challenge. I absolutely adore what I do, and I am so passionate about it. And I see it as a gift. It's not challenging, it's a gift. And gifts have to keep on giving. And I always used to think I was big-headed when I used to talk like that. Oh, I've got a gift. But it's like, I actually do have a gift. I am really good with people, and I'm passionate about what I do, and I want to help people because I've been that person. I've been there. And it's just like nobody ever needs to feel like that, because all it takes is a conversation with some person. And I am that one person for a lot of people. So it's not challenging what I do. It's an absolute blessing and a gift. And I'm so grateful that I've got it. And I'm in a position to be able to do it.
I've got a question. I'm going, sorry.
Go on. No, go on.
I've got a question because I've got a friend who's like a life coach and stuff as well. And she says, some people say, oh, can I just ask this or can I just this? Mm-hmm. How do you define, like, say, giving your friends and family sort of free counselling, should we say, to, well, this is actually a professional conversation that you need to come in and work together? How do you differentiate the two together?
Yeah, so the thing is when I look at counselling, psychotherapy and that side of things, it's not about giving advice. It's not about showing sympathy. It's none of those things. And that's what you do on a personal level with your friends and family. So it's a whole different ball game. When you are working with an individual, it's about guiding them and supporting them. You don't give them advice. You don't tell them what they need and what they don't need. You don't do any of that. You take them and support them and hold them while they're on their own journey of guided discovery, self-life journey. But it's like with friends and family, I can say, oh, look, this is an hour counselling. Have you ever thought about counselling? Because I won't be the best person. Because I'll be too invested. My opinion will be too subjective.
Yeah.
It's just like if a friend came to me and said, oh, this situation, I'm going to be like, oh my God, what's going on? And that can't be happening. And that's not what that person needs. It's just like, have you ever thought about, obviously I can speak to them, but it's not like on a counselling level. So it's about, for me personally, knowing my boundaries and holding them. And if someone wants more than like half an hour of my time to have a big thorough conversation, it's just like something deep's going on. obviously I'll give them an hour of my time, but if it keeps coming back and back and back and back, it's a kind of like on me to say, look, you really need some more help here. But again, it's holding your boundaries and knowing my limits and what I can do. And I think that's on me, not the other person. It's about me, my boundaries and my limits and where my stop sign is.
Yeah. How do you find work? How do you get people to come to you?
Yeah. So a lot of people say I'm a bit mad for this, but when it comes to my one-on-one clients, I don't advertise. I think it's so personal and so precious that the right people will come to me. And it's always been through my clients, my existing clients. And once they've experienced me or once they've seen me, they will then reach out to me. But I have never once sat there and said, I'm a psychotherapist, I'm a coach, I'm a counselor, and I've got space for clients. I can't do it. It's too but loads of people do. But for me, it just doesn't sit right with me. I can't do it.
That. Yeah.
Never.
No, I like that. So if you turn up at
best way they'll get them refers, isn't it? Because you know you're doing the job the right way, you know.
Yeah, it's a blessing. It really is a blessing and a privilege to do what I do without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Well, I think it's the best way for anybody to find work is to fill people with a sense of their worth without selling to them.
Yeah,
you know, almost if you've got to sell to somebody, then you've there's a situation there where that person doesn't already know your worth, and therefore you've got to overcome those objections, etc. So, and I think that's why, I mean, it's like Diane and I have talked about this before as well. I think that's why activity speaks louder than trying to sell. But going out there and doing stuff and showing people showing people what you do, showing people the value of the conversations that you're already having with people, getting involved in stuff, that's better than trying to sell directly all of the time.
Yeah, I think the best way for someone in my position to do that is your client feedback, testimonials from those that you've worked with. I think they're magic, because they're other people's words. And every client I have has said to me, you've saved my life. And when you just think at the time, you go, oh, you've done all the hard work and blah, blah, blah. But when you come away and you process that yourself, because things take time to process, another human being has come up to me and told me, you saved my life. And it's just like, what power is that? And it's not like a power where you think, oh, I'm all invincible. It's like, wow, I actually do that for people. And it's just like a big wow moment. I'm actually like, wow. And it just, it's very humbling. Yeah, it's nice.
I mean, in a slightly different way though, Diane, don't you think that's actually the aim goal of everything that you do as well? It's
definitely.
If you can look at it and you don't go, and I think that's what sets you apart from some other recruiters. If you're literally just thinking about this as a process and not, that's a space, I've got to fill a space, that is very mechanical. Whereas actually, if you treat it that every single person that you get involved with, you are helping along their life journey to take them somewhere.
Yeah.
That's massive. That's massive. And it's a completely different mindset.
Yeah, I always say about that, like, it's not just about the skill set, it's about the person, and it's about fixing the solution for both the client and the candidate. So I have had a role that took a little bit longer to craft, but luckily we've just found someone, the right person, to start on Monday. Both of them are overjoyed. One person's in a job that he wasn't enjoying anymore, and the client needs this person. And you know what? Because we've done a lot of business with them, we've come to a good agreement as well together. So everybody wins, and I'm more happy that I fixed the issue for both of them than probably getting the fee, which is a little bit maybe madness, people would say, about business. But my driver is I want to make a difference and I want to help obviously we all are in work for money. We're all here for money. Yes, of course we are. However, I get more job satisfaction out of actually going, do you know what? I've helped that person and they're still in that role a year on. I've had people on sites from one site to another, and it's been like nearly 2 years now, you know, that they've worked on that site. So you've got found the right fit for the clients. They've took them to the next project. The lads have been and worked them for all that time. It means so much more, do you know, than having to keep getting replaced in the job and that, because that's no good for anyone, is it? You know, and being in an agency can be a risk to some people because they haven't got set hours all the time. They haven't got that. So to be able to actually provide that in a temporary world, I think is great, to be fair.
Yeah.
That's something I always ask people, actually, when quite often when I first meet them, which is actually if we took money out of the world, if you didn't have money, forget that. You know, people just have enough, whatever, to resource them. Would you carry on still doing what you're doing? And if the answer is no, then you know people need to seriously have a think about that, don't they?
Yeah. No, do you know what? I can totally relate to that, because I did what I did for 3 years on a voluntary basis because I really struggled to charge for it, because I believe what I do should be given for free.
Yeah.
And I know it's like everyone will be like, no, but everyone get paid. And it's just like that's just mental health is just, and I know like your PTs, you get paid for it and stuff like that. So I get it. But when you look at us as a human, it's conversation, isn't it? It really is conversation, the power of conversation. But I struggled with that. I struggled with getting money.
I think if you showcase that you're chasing the money, you're devaluing your service. That's my opinion. You know, other people will argue differently, and other people will argue if your service is too low, then people won't want to work with you, because people naturally want to pay more for the service they got. There's a big conversation around it all the time. Now, I think for me, going back to what you say about the individual, I work with the individual client depending on their needs and what they're capable of being able to do. Does that make sense as well? Because I like being able to help clients who are growing, who not necessarily would have been able to afford that service, and you can put it in a way where it's affordable and achievable for them. So they're like, all right, okay, well, I can actually do this now, you know, and I can move forward. Like, we've got people on temp to perm basis, and they can take them on after 12 weeks free of charge. But for a smaller business, they're like, oh, what, do don't get another charge? And say, yeah. So then you get that business and then you work with them. And to me, that's the longevity of it, because then they're going to come back to you time and time again, because you've helped them, you know, and you've looked after them and you've made it affordable, and everybody wins. Does that make sense? So, you know, I think you address all different situations, all different times, and no matter what business you're in. I think if you put a bit of ethics into it, then I think that's a success, in my opinion. Like,
I think too many people think about what they've got to charge as opposed to what resource they actually need.
Yeah.
So
actually,
I don't think most people, if you said, actually, in order to achieve what you want to achieve here, if we're going on this journey together, if we've talked about it and we've worked it out, and this is where you actually want to go, and this is the framework of the work that needs do, or the stuff that needs doing, in order to do that without me burning out, without you burning out, without everybody it falling over or whatever, it's got, the resource that we need is this. That's the right way. That's the right way to do it, And if it's, and then it's understood that, perhaps if that's not affordable at this time, well, you'll have less. but that's, then that's fair and equitable. I think, when people create a business and they pluck a big figure out of the sky and stick it in there just because, I can make more money out of this, that's when it's wrong.
Yeah. And again, no, I totally get it. And I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Graham, when it's like, it's about the quality of the service. It's about the customer journey. It's about what their experience is like working with you. Once you nail that, then you will never have a shortage of clients. It's all about how they're treated, how they feel, the impact you have on them, the way people will never remember the amount of money things cost. Well, in some cases they will, but they will always remember the way that you make them feel.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing. It's the customer experience. It's the quality of the service and the provision and stuff, isn't it?
100%. Well, no, from Mag who says that is people will never remember what you said, what you did, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And I think if you can understand that as a business, then that's where you will be successful, you know.
We've seen too many businesses where, I mean, imagine a therapist where it's like, right, half an hour gone, off you go, you know. But it could happen, you know. That's the thing. If you center it all around money, that's where it's going to go. So you've got to value your time. You've got to you've got to give whatever that person really needs in terms of your time at the right resource and the right money in order to be able to achieve it without anybody having to think about it. And that's the right way. It's been a great conversation today.
I was just going to say, though, you've just been saying that about doing it for the right reasons. I think as well, another important factor in business is if you are a business owner, it's about knowing yourself. It's about knowing who you are, what your values are, what your worth is, and why you're doing it, and holding your boundaries. And I think once you know that, and you can deal, and you've got like a high level of emotional intelligence, and then that's where it starts in business. It starts with the business owner and then the staff working within the business. I think it always starts there. Knowing yourself is one of the most important things.
Yeah,
definitely.
One last question: How many business owners have you met where it's a great idea, whatever it is that they're doing, but if the execution isn't right, or the time isn't right, or the market isn't right, or whatever, and they're one of the things that they've got to, and they're getting this feeling that, you know, I just need to give up or whatever because it isn't working. However much effort they've put into it, it isn't working. But rather than actually stopping and looking at it and going, actually, all I need to do is reframe this and put it out there in a different way, or do a slightly different thing, and actually maybe even a better thing than they came up with in the first place, they've just gone, oh no, this just hasn't worked, and that's stopped them in their tracks. How many people do you come up against like that?
In my experience, I've seen a few like that, but I suppose because I've got more of experience as working in jobs and things, and I see that a lot in people coming into organizations from an external perspective, and they've come from one organization into another, and they've come in like a bull in a china shop, and come in with like their own ideas and things like that, and they're like, oh yeah, we're going to change this, I'm going to change that, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and they've really like rubbed their staff team up the wrong way. They've gone against the grain. They haven't got to know the staff team, and it just, no one's coming. So they're dragging the staff team kicking and screaming, and it seems like hard work, and it's like, right, okay, I'll give in. And if they'd have just gone in and got to know the staff team, learned the systems and the processes that were in place, and then had conversations with the staff teams about how they think, being established in the company already, things could change, and led them. But some people just like to exert their authority and put their stamp on things. I am boss, and you, like guerrilla tactics, isn't it? I am boss, you will listen to me and do as I say. So I've seen that a lot in organizations and businesses, but I haven't seen it as much in like with business owners, if that makes sense.
Do you know what? It makes total sense, because I've literally got a proposal to do for a potential new client this morning, and when I had the conversation with them, they're not happy with where things are going at the moment with the social media, and actually the question, one of the questions I asked, because it's a relatively medium-sized team. I said, have you ever sat down with your team and asked them how they think about what they think about this, and you know what they're comfortable with doing? No. I said, well, that for me is the starting point. right? Because unless they've got buy-in and whatever, unless you're taking them on the journey with you, you're going to get nothing out of your team with this. This is always going to be sort of like an activity you do over here with your team over there going, oh God, not that again.
Like a battle, wouldn't it?
I think that's people's most problems is when you're setting your business plan up or you're doing whatever, you need to say to the team, right, how do you think we can do this? How do you do this? Because if you get the team's ideas coming to life, then that's the best thing you can do. You know, I remember when I had a store and started doing events and stuff, and someone like got really involved. It was like, oh, do you like that? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, go on then, you do the calendar, you do. And they're like, what, me? And I'm like, yeah, of course you can. You've helped me on every one. Like, oh. And then once they get the belief in the doing, I'm like, can we do this? Yeah, do what you want. You know, it's a case of, you know, I want events happening. I'm not too fussed what happens, what this, but you do it how you want to do it. And the minute you empower people and give them that autonomy, that's when things change, isn't it? You know, for everyone. Yeah.
And what a simple way of showing your staff that they are actually valued and they matter by including them.
Yeah.
It's a simple first protocol, but not so many people do it.
And that, you know, developing that mindset of empowerment as well for other people is really empowering to the individual as well, isn't it? Because suddenly they're kind of freed of the burden and the responsibility completely as well. I mean, it's not just them against the world. It's, you know, they're taking other people on that journey with them.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely.
There you go. I think some lessons to be learned from today. Martine, it's been fantastic having you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
If people want to get hold of Martine, she's on all of the social medias. I see her popping up on my Instagram every now and again, as well as LinkedIn, etc. So please do connect with her and find out a little bit more. We'll make sure that the links go in when this goes out. From me and the dog next door, who's suddenly woken up. Bye for now. We hope you come back and join us again next time. But until then, this has been DCT with the icing on the career cake. See you soon. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye.